Radio Free Tatooine presents Galactic War Report, a Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes podcast.
Boshuda, fellow Holotable hustlers, you're tuned into Galactic War Report, a Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes podcast that's better than some and worse than others. I'm Sean, a.k.a. the other Sean, and sitting across the Holotable from me is Josh, a.k.a. the Golden Pop-Tart.
So this is episode 420, so we're just talking a moment ago about that. Like, this has to be like a special episode. Maybe we take off like the kids rating on this, right? Or yes, right?
I'm drinking a beer as we record, for what that's worth.
That has to be PG-13,
That's
right?
a 5 o'clock thing. That's not a 420. That's a 5 o'clock.
Well...
I don't know.
420,
well,
though, I mean...
420th episode to those who celebrate.
I mean, really to think about
later in the episode. It will.
It will.
Up. There's some relevance there.
So, real quick, though, before we start, like, did you ever think this is going to go 420 episodes in?
No, I did not. I didn't... No. Like, when I first started podcasting in 2015, I think? 2015, 2014. I think it was 2015. I had no... That was Radio Free Tatooine, just a Star Wars podcast that was better than some and worse than others. And it truly was. I had no idea that I would like do a spin-off and that this would have 4 times the episode of that. Like, I have no idea. I don't even know how many episodes we did of that. I think we did a couple hundred. But, yeah, it's crazy. 421 times I've sat down here and talked about this game that we all love and we all hate. And people are still downloading.
I know.
Like, they haven't caught on after 420 episodes. That's amazing. I love it. That's crazy. We got to look back and see what episode... Do you know what episode number you came on?
I do not know.
I'm curious about that. Because I want to know where the breaking point is where you have done more episodes than Mr. H. So he's like that one. Oh, you remember that one guy from like the first few episodes?
Yeah, right.
You know, like, I don't know. That's interesting. But yeah, 420 episodes of this. We are going to talk tonight about Ricka, aka Wrecker.
The nuke.
That is the latest Bad Batch version 2 character to be announced as we speak. He's not actually, as we release, he won't even be in the game yet. They put those events in the game early now, like 5 days till that guy's released, and we already got we've had it in there for a day or so. So we'll be talking about him. We'll be talking about the other big thing, which is going to be Mr. Zaalbar.
I know, right?
Wow, the rework on that it's kind of mind-boggling. We're going to read out one ability. We're not even going to touch his other abilities, unless this one mandates it. And that one ability is going to be like a whole kit reveal.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because it does 3 completely separate things. So that'll be interesting. And then we've got a little bit of Grand Arena to wrap up, and a little bit of Conquest that has just started as we record. It's 2 days into it, so this is we'll give our first impressions, early takes on this new Conquest. But first, as is tradition around here, we need to celebrate some Blurf Days. All right, this week on the 21st, we've got Droideka turning 6 years old. 2019, that little punk first rolled into the game, and I've been hitting him ever since. And he still has damage immunity, and it's still somehow always off cooldown.
And always the other person's is better than mine. I don't care what it is. Like, it always, like...
That raid droideka is on something else.
I know, right? Like,
thing.
it just... I mean, you look at those, and it just doesn't... That's where I was, a lot of times in the game, I'm like, I want that one. Give me that one, just for a moment. Right?
Yeah.
But...
Give me that Traya back in the Sith Raid days. I want that one, please. Yeah. Droideka is on the 21st. On the 22nd, we have Boss Nass turning 1 year old, a whole year since the Gungan invasion began.
It's crazy, really.
It's never been the same. Speaking of, like, constantly hitting something and doing no damage whatsoever.
Right?
Gungans! So frustrating. There are teams that work against them, and then everything else loses to them. Everything else loses to them. Obnoxious, interesting design, but, ooh, they're obnoxious. Which, let's be real, Gungans should be kind
they
of
should
obnoxious.
be, yeah, agreed.
Who else do we have? On the 23rd, we have Darth Nihilus. Speaking of that Sith Raid, the opening act of the Sith Raid. Him here for a stove. Man, taking me back to the day. 2017, that is 8 years ago. And that's when we went out to Sacramento to tour the office at Capitol Games before the Sith Raid came out. So, wow, that's been a minute. 8 years. I mean, I guess it might have been 7 years because he came out and then the raid came out, but, you know, splitting hairs here.
I wonder if anybody else has been out there in the last few years. Anyone's touring?
Well, not that I'm aware of, and they moved since then.
Yeah.
They're no longer in that office. That old office was really cool. It was like I think it was an old post office, is what it used to be, and then it, if I remember correctly, it was like a post office, and then it converted to a bank, and then they bought it.
Interesting.
And it was, or I don't know if they bought it or paid rent or whatever, but yeah, it was a really cool place. Also in 2016, General Grievous dropped on the 23rd, so it's even older. It's 9 years ago. And when he first dropped, he could only be acquired in the shard shop. And it was like you go in the, if I remember correctly, you can still get him in the shard shop, but like 13,000 currency for 30. Like, that took forever. I don't think I unlocked him before he was moved to like fleet shipments.
Wow.
I couldn't imagine. I remember John back in the day was farming, like he had characters that weren't at 7 stars, and he was farming other characters to get shard shop currency to get General Grievous.
Wow.
Like,
I mean, that's dedication to what you're doing. There you go, right? I mean,
it is. On the 25th, we have 2 Blurf days. We have Captain Rex from 2016.
Wow.
Also 9 years ago. He was one of the early Marquis characters. Or no, not Marquis. He was introduced straight to Chromium. And I remember that was like one of the first tastes in my mouth of like, ooh, this game is getting kind of pricey. I would love Captain Rex. However, I can't afford that.
Wow.
And then also in 2022, Star Fortress.
Which came out of nowhere.
I forget the model number, but whatever, you know, the Resistance Bomber. So, yeah. Very cool ship. I wish fleets were so much more balanced than they were.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I love about how robust the whole kind of ecosystem of squads is that there's a few things that can beat Jabba. There's a few things that can beat Leia, a few things that can beat Ahsoka, whatever, right? But with ships, it really does feel like Resistance. There's nothing you can do with Resistance. They're not good at anything. They're worthless. I'm sorry. I said it. I'm sorry, Resistance ships. You stink.
You're just bad.
You're just bad, and you should feel bad.
Well, I mean, I think I've said this. I think we said it on the podcast not too long ago, but I mean, Poe's ships should be better. I mean, I just think in general, like, you watch that episode and, like, you watch that movie and, like, he is amazing in it.
When he flies in the Battle of Takadana.
Oh, yes.
And just, like, the camera follows just his ship and all the serpentine loops and stuff that he's doing and just deleting TIE fighters left and right.
See, I want to be Finn. When Finn was just throwing up his arms and just cheering, that's why I want to be when I'm using that ship. Yeah. And I don't get that, and not even a little bit.
You do not. Mm-mm. Yeah. So that's sad. But those are the Blurf days. Happy Blurf Day, all of you crazy tunes and ships. Hope you have a great week. Nihilus, I hope you're, still hungry after all these years. All right, now let's take a look at this week's upcoming in-game events brought to you by swgohevents.com. For a complete list of past, present, and future events, swgohevents.com is a universe of info in a galaxy of heroes. On the 21st, we have a Omega battle on Hoth. On the 22nd, we'll have a ground war assault battle. The 23rd is going to bring us a Galactic Bounties 1, as well as a Smuggler's Run 1, and a Territory War sign-up, number 365. Ooh, that's a lot of Territory Wars.
That's a lot of Wow.
But you know what there's been more of? Episodes of Galactic War Report.
There you go, right? That's awesome.
So, we're better than Territory Wars. or we're not better, we are more prolific than Territory Wars. On the 24th, we've got an Omega battle on Endor, as well as an assault battle. This will be a Rebel roundup. And then we have Grand Arena Season 63 sign up. We're back to the 3v3, and maybe we'll see some crazy things happening.
I hope so.
With Zaalbar. We'll get to that in a bit, but I think that's going to be a 3v3 staple for some folks.
I think for sure.
Nothing on the schedule for the 25th, but that's when we'll be setting defenses for Grand Arena. Then on the 26th is an assault battle, Duel of the Fates. Gotta love that. 27th brings us a heroic battle, Ghosts of Dathomir. That's your Night Sister zombie and or spirit shards. And then also on the 27th, a Territory War sign-up, number 366. Man, oh man.
Wow.
So it looks like
more than that.
And we'll be doing conquest and territory battles throughout this. Actually, territory battles will wrap up early in that, but it'll be a good busy week.
Oh, yeah.
Back to streaming. I'm in my off week for streaming. Like, my family was like, "You're not going downstairs yet?" I said, "No, there's no Grand Arena. I'm just here to hang out, spend time with my family. 1 week per month, my family gets to see me." And it's quite nice sometimes. All right, before we dive into this week's top stories, I want to give a quick shout out to our fantastic Patreon supporters. If you enjoy what we do and you want to be a part of our exclusive community, head over to patreon.com/Galactic War Report. Your support makes this podcast possible, and you get access to our VIP section of our Discord server just for Jawas. You must be a Jawa to enter, and donating makes you a Jawa. So head on over to that. You can come chat with us before we record the podcast on Wednesdays, 8:30 Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We do a Doth chat. That's every week for our Dothcha level or higher supporters. It's a good time. It's a hoot. You never know what we're going to talk about. Sometimes it's therapy. Sometimes we talk about 80s movies. Sometimes we just talk about Galactic Galaxy of Heroes. So Anyways, punch it, Pop-Tart.
All right. So, like I said, we got really three things, but one kind of comes up right off the bat. So we got the update, right? So now in that update was a Zaalbar Omicron. But I will say first that 2 more of those Gungans are going to be accelerated. So if you are looking to get your Jar Jar, Tarple, and Boomadir are accelerated now, so that makes it just a tiny bit easier. But I think let's do the kit second here, because we got to get to this Zaalbar situation real quick.
Yeah. Let's hit that Zaalbar business first. It's
now let's think. It is now. But let's think real quick though. Like previously, I mean, we have only really had Omicrons now for the last while, where they're a new character coming from Conquest or something of those sorts, right? Like, it's been a moment since we've had a character that's been around for a while to get one, and I was trying to think, like...
I don't have hard numbers, but I read that it has been 2 years.
2 years, wow.
I don't remember where. That was in a Reddit post. I would quote it.
I mean, it was a Geonosian, right? So...
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, I think that's the crazy part with this, is it's so... Again, it comes kind of left field in some ways, you know, where, I mean, if you would have said, hey, do you think Zaalbar is going to get, Omicron today? I mean, you probably have to make a lot of guesses, right? I mean, it's just no way.
If you said who's going to get an Omicron, he's going to be toward the end of your pack of people that might get one, I mean, I really hope the feedback I have heard so far is just that, CG, if you're listening... We want more of this. Like, this is something that would be really awesome, especially with the fact that, spoiler, we're going to say it, like 3v3 and 5v5, to where it can make technically 2 different teams. It just is awesome. I mean, this is what we're looking for, because there's so many characters. I mean, Darth Maul, to me, is one of the ones that I would just love to have an Omicron, because... Imagine if you could actually use him and he's good other than fodder for C to get him back his protection, right? I mean, that's just basically the only reason I use him for. I mean, man, so this is... think about, Datacrons as an experiment for this. You do all this testing with Datacrons to see which ones work and which ones people love, and, maybe do something like that. We talk... endlessly about how good Darth Sidious's Omicron was. We loved it, or his Datacron was. Give him something like that as an Omicron. Let that be a testing grounds.
Agreed.
Mechanics.
I would much rather have that, and I think that, I don't know, CG, please make it to where some of these characters that we don't get to play with, we get to play with. Make some of the characters that are decent. Like, I would love a Darth Vader one or something to make it to where he actually... Again, he's
scary.
He's just there, right? So, I mean, I'd love to be at a point where we have some of these older characters like this. So, that's first off for me, before I even read anything, why I'm excited, just because it is wonderful for them to give a character that no one's really truly using. I mean, obviously the Wookiee faction didn't really pan out, right? So, I mean, at this point, it feels good.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think it's something that I personally had just forgotten that that's a thing that can happen.
Yeah, right.
Because there is a certain amount of exhaustion from every new character coming out having Omicrons, and you're just I can't remember who does what in what mode. They're already complicated enough, and these new characters all having multiple Omicrons, and that being such a gate, and then to see an older one get it. Okay, all right, spice it up. All right, let's talk about how spicy it is, because it's quite spicy.
It is,
I think. All right, so the text on it is. This is for his, what's the stinking move called?
It's the unique.
It's his unique, whatever. So basically, the forever text on it is, Zaalbar has plus 25% crit avoidance. Woohoo! If Mission Vow is an ally, she also gains the bonus. When any other ally falls below 100% health, Zaalbar gains Retribution and Taunt for 2 turns. At the start of each of his turns, both he and Mission recover 10% protection for each stack of damage over time on enemies. This is unchanged. It's been like that for a while, but it's worth reading because who uses Zaalbar, right?
Right.
All right, so
You need to
now,
know now.
while in Grand Arenas, there's 3 parts to this. There's a Grand Arena part, and then there's a specific 5v5 part, and a specific 3v3 part. The overall Grand Arena thing is, Zaalbar gains Retribution and Taunts for 1 turn at the start of battle. Cool. At the start of his turn, and whenever he loses Retribution or Taunt. So, like, forever taunting.
Yeah, right, basically.
Still susceptible to ability block, but... Or not ability block, but buff immunity. But, still, very nice. Whenever he attacks out of turn, which, if he has Retribution at all times, will be all the time, inflict a stack of damage over time for 2 turns on all enemies, which can't be evaded or resisted. Enemies can't gain defense up or stealth. That's cool.
Yeah.
Alright, so kind of a mid Omicron, though. Nothing too exciting, but there's some cool little features. Now, the 5v5 bit of it is this. If all allies are light side Old Republic, and the leader is not a Jedi, so do the math on that. This is a card team, is what we're talking about, and it's all light side Old Republic. But Jedi can be on the team. It just, the leader can't be a Jedi, right? Okay. So if that condition is met, all allies are immune to daze and expose. At the start of each turn, allies gain 20% defense and tenacity for each enemy debuff until the end of turn. Whenever another ally taunts, they dispel it, take a bonus turn, and gain 400% offense until the end of the encounter, or at the start of a Galactic Legends turn.
Only 400.
So Zaalbar is going to be taunting at all times. If anyone else taunts, they dispel it, get a bonus turn, and gain 400% offense. So, he just turns any other taunter into a monster, right? Alright, now, whenever an enemy gains bonus turn meter, they're inflicted with a stack of damage over time for 2 turns, which can't be evaded or resisted. If Jolie is an ally, that looks pretty bad, revives all defeated allies, not just Jedi.
Yeah.
All defeated allies. That is nice right there. I always, back when I used to use him, because now, I mean, he hasn't been relevant really for quite a while, but I always would forget that it's, oh god, it's only Jedi, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Now it revives all. These bonuses persist if Zaalbar is defeated. Very cool. Now, the 3v3 thing is much cooler.
Fun. Oh, yeah.
I think. While in 3v3 Grand Arenas, if Darth Revan and Mission Vow are allies, that's right, Darth Revan and Mission Vow are allies, and there's no enemy Galactic Legend. Now, let me record scratch. That was a terrible sound effect. I'll try again. Nope. I just can't do it.
It's still the same, yeah.
So let's pause for a second here, and anyone who's played Knights of the Old Republic, you could choose the light side or the dark side. The whole thing in that game was it's like an RPG, but your choices matter a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And either you're going to save the galaxy or you're going to ruin it, and like all the characters in your party have decisions to make too, right? If you go dark side, like Jolie isn't going to follow you. Bastila will. That's why there's a nasty Basti, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the point is, if you go dark side at the end, and I am comfortable spoiling this 25.
I hope so
game,
at this point, yeah.
If you go dark side, then Zaalbar has a life debt to you, and he and Mission are best friends. But because he has a life debt, you can force him to kill Mission. And then he's your dude. and he, I'm sure is tortured inside. It's like one of the most evil things you can do in that game, but you can do it. So that's what this does. So if those three are the team, Zaalbar and Mission gain the Sith Empire tag until the end of the battle. Mission gains a bonus turn at the start of the battle. What's she going to do on this turn? Is it going to be something cool? It's until the start of that turn, she can't be targeted by enemies. Awesome. Great. At the start of that turn, she is instantly defeated. And grants her critical chance, crit damage, offense, and speed to Zaalbar and Darth Revan, in addition to their own, until the end of the battle. Zaalbar and Darth Revan gain guard until Zaalbar is defeated. And once per turn, Darth Revan assists whenever Zaalbar uses an ability. So it's kind of Chewbacca-ish in that he guards himself, and Revan, it's kind of like you were saying before we started recording, it's kind of Darth Bane-ish in that this is going to give you two characters that just plow through one battle. It's going to be interesting to see if people start relicking up their Zaalbar and Mission, because so many of us have a Relic 9 Revan. Are we about to take Mission and Zaalbar to Relic 9 too? Like, what's the temperature on that?
Wow, I mean, to think about that, I mean, that would be pretty crazy. I mean, but thinking about just how this might change the game just a tad bit. I mean, one is that I love the fact that they're utilizing something from a different game. It brings that nostalgia a little bit into it. But on the other side of it, like, if you put this on defense, I mean, you're not going to know what to fight this. If you see this next week, what are you going to use? Because you don't know how much this is going to really change Darth Revan. And a Relic 9 character in general is not going to be easy, but, I mean, you're not going to fear a Darth Revan team on defense in most cases unless this turns out to be amazing. But then on the other side of it, what if you put this on offense and you don't know what to beat with it, So, I mean, it's really going to be interesting this first time.
And I'm going to throw it at something. I don't have an idea what. Like, I mean, I always go in and you've got your routine ones that right? You're going to take out Lord Vader with Bo. You're going to take out Jabba with Slicker. I've got some that, unquestioning, Darth Bane takes out Padme, or Queen Amidala. So I'll knock a few of those out, and then I'll let the dust settle a little bit and see what's out there. And I absolutely want to try this. I haven't applied the Omicron, and I'm not actually 100% that I'm going to do it. Maybe I'll live vicariously through you. But, but I am seriously considering dropping this Omicron.
I mean, I decided to do it because, I mean, one, it's another team that's going to be out there on defense that's going to be a little bit different for me. And maybe because I think the first thing I usually do is when I don't know what it's going to attack, I'll just throw it on defense. And somebody else is going to have to figure it out. And if they beat it, then guess what? I can see exactly how it goes. But we're probably going to see a ton of people use it on offense. And I hope it's really good. I mean, I think about, the Oppress Omicron. That was a really great one. I mean, the Wampa and, some of these, the Qui-Gons, it usually, and when they also say in here too, it's like, if they're telling us basically that you excludes Galactic Legends, it means it's going to be a really great thing for everything but Galactic Legends. So it's just, it brings a little bit of excitement to it, and I think Mission and Zaalbar are Relic 3 for me, and then Revan's only Relic 5. So at that point, I'm just hoping someone's going to go in there thinking that they can easily beat it, and they're going to get tripped up for a moment. And
so that actually brings up another interesting thing is it's unknown. The way it's worded, it doesn't look like it would persist after the first battle, right? So at the start, if you put it on defense, Mission dies, the other two are powerhouses and they kill you. Then you go in and clean up. Now, there's two things here. One, that preloads Darth Revan, which is already kind of nasty.
Yeah.
But someone on Reddit was saying that in the German translation, the way it's worded really sounds like that is going to persist after the first battle. If that's the case, that would be nuts. Because leader abilities don't even persist after a battle. So that would really get me to look at that in a different light, too. But as it stands, this would be an attack team for me.
I get you.
I like to save my best and most fun teams for attack.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens after this next one, and I love it's right beforehand, and, we'll see. But I'm planning on defense, but it's just, I don't know. And then I'm looking at my mods, and of course, the mods for Zaalbar and Mission were pretty rough. So, I mean, I think I gotta decide on, okay, what do I do? Do I focus more on Mission for speed, so that way it's faster for Darth Revan? Do I go through to make it with offense, so it just makes them even better as a whole? And it's going to be interesting to kind of see, then for Zaalbar, do you still go defense or, health? Because now he's going to have higher speed and higher offense, so... But again, his base offense is pretty dang low, so I'm not sure how well he's going to hit. But
without remodding mine currently, my Mission has 224 speed. Now, if you told me I could give Darth Revan an extra 224 speed, okay, let's do it.
Right.
And 220% crit damage. Sign me up. Yeah, I like that.
I mean, but if you can get her up to like what? It's closer to 300, and he's above
totally
300.
Because
600 speed.
That's only like 70 speed for mods. Yeah.
So I mean, that is just unbelievable to think about how fast Revan is going to be. I mean, guaranteed the fastest person on my roster, just because Mission dies. I mean, that is cool. I'm sorry. There's just nothing around it. Like, they just made a mechanic where someone's going to die right at the beginning, and you're just going to be the fastest character in the game.
They did it. Somehow, they made Zaalbar cool.
Right? I mean,
man,
it's pretty cool.
All right. So that's the Omicron for Big Z. Let's talk about Wrecker here. This is the 4th character from the new Bad Batch squad. And big surprise, he's the tank.
I know, right?
No one saw that coming.
Yeah, we didn't. Now, I do have to laugh a little bit about the image that they have on there. And and then he came in like a wrecking ball. I just, Meathead's on his game. I mean, it's kind of fun. Yep.
He's I don't know. I like the old Wrecker that swings a droid around. Like, I feel like that really catches his personality. I'm gonna have to try this to see how well it does. But from looking at the kit, it looks pretty good. I like that he's actually got an explosive now, because he loves those. So anyways, he, let's see, let's go over abilities. There we go. His basic is called Haymaker, and it's a Haymaker. Dispel all buffs on target enemy and deal physical damage to them twice. During Wrecker's turn, remove 5% turn meter for each buff dispelled from the target enemy. All other Bad Batch allies gain 10% turn meter. So almost like a Ewok Elder vibe, where you just want to do a basic, boost the turn meter for everyone else. I'm cool with that. Special 1 is called Colossal Smash, cooldown of 3. Deal physical damage to target enemy and inflict disarm for 2 turns. Or until Wrecker is defeated, and remove it from all other enemies which can't be copied, dispelled, or resisted. If the target enemy was already disarmed, this ability deals 50% more damage, except if they're a Galactic Legend. If Wrecker has more than 30 stacks of Soldier of Fortune, he and the weakest other Bad Batch ally gain 50% turn meter. That's not bad at all. And then Taunt for 2 turns, also. And then his second special is Improvised Weapon. This is he just throws a big...
Yeah, but he kisses it first. I mean, how awesome is that? He kisses it first.
Amazing.
I mean, that's just fun.
Yes, he does. I'm a big fan of that. Deal physical damage and stagger all enemies for 2 turns. Dispel all debuffs on Bad Batch allies. If defense down, speed down, or tenacity down were dispelled on a Bad Batch ally, they gain the opposite version of that debuff for 2 turns. Each time this is used, Wrecker gains 25% defense, max health, and max protection until the end of the battle. So, that's awesome. Cooldown of 6, though. Woof.
Yeah. But again, though, I mean, with the fact that, Omega can go through and, I mean, her ability to take down these cooldowns, I mean, that's another one, too. Is there a way that we can...
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
That's going to make that much more playable. Yeah,
it feels that, because, I mean, obviously there's a lot of them on there that have huge, needs for cooldowns, but if this one is as good as it kind of seems like it could be, I mean, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. That was his second special. Sorry, I'm just pulling him up in game here. There we go. And then his unique. You got to be in front to win. This is an Omicron. And Bad Batch allies gain 75% tenacity. At the start of each encounter, Wrecker taunts for 2 turns. Cool. Whenever an enemy attacks out of turn, Bad Batch allies recover 5% health and protection. Whenever Bad Batch allies are inflicted with healing immunity, they dispel it, recover 25% health and protection, and gain defense up for 2 turns. That's rude.
Not bad.
Whenever an enemy gains 50% or more bonus turn meter before a Bad Batch ally takes a turn, all Bad Batch allies gain 15% turn meter. And then when another Bad Batch ally is inflicted with captive, the cooldown of improvised weapon is reset and Wrecker gains taunt for 2 turns, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. While another Bad Batch ally is inflicted with captive, Wrecker has plus 25% max health and protection. And then the Omicron part, it's a territory battle one. Bad Batch allies gain 100% max health and max protection and 50% offense. Okay. At the start of each encounter, Wrecker gains 100% defense stacking until the end of the battle, which persists through defeat. Whenever an enemy takes a turn, Bad Batch allies gain 5% turn meter. If a Bad Batch ally is defeated after captive has already been used while Wrecker is alive, they revive with 100% health and protection and stealth for 2 turns, and this effect can only occur once per character. So, yeah, it's basically an extra life as long as he's alive for everyone. Cool. And they already had the captive option too. And then his second unique, the Soldier of Fortune. At the start of the battle, he gets 1 stack of Soldier of Fortune for each relic level he has. Whenever a Bad Batch or mercenary ally is critically hit, he gains 3 stacks of Soldier of Fortune. And whenever Wrecker is inflicted with a debuff, he loses 5 stacks of Soldier of Fortune. At the start of their turn, each mercenary ally gains 5% defense stacking and 1% tenacity stacking for each stack of Soldier of Fortune they have until the end of their turn. So I would say probably mod him for tenacity.
Seems that way.
It would seem. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
I think, that was a lot of text, but all that to say, basically he can dispel everyone's debuffs and flip them into the buff version, right?
Yeah.
You want to mod him up for tenacity because if he gets debuffed, he loses stacks of Soldier of Fortune, and you really want to get him to 30 stacks of Soldier of Fortune. You don't have to worry about too much else because he's constantly taunting. That triggers all the time. He's going to be a real pain to get through. He's kind of like a royal guard in that you're like, well, guess I got to cut through this guy before I get to anything else, what was the other... Whoops, I'm in the wrong spot. The other thing, 30 stacks of Soldier of Fortune. He and the weakest Bad Batch ally gain 50% turn meter. So, I mean, I love that. Yeah, looks really solid.
Yeah, I mean, the whole team looks pretty good. Yeah.
I'd say one thing that bugs me about the team so far is on auto, they got a lot of moves that aren't attacks. So it's like, this person's turn. I do this maneuver, and we have a bunch of buffs. I do this maneuver, and we have some different buffs. I do this maneuver, and something else changes. I do this maneuver, and you're like, could you just hit somebody?
Yeah.
Can you please hit somebody?
Well, I wonder if they're going to be... I mean, is this like the Gungans? I mean, that's what I keep on wondering, is just kind of where does this play? And we talked a little bit on the Doth chat kind of about maybe what the next, maybe what next raid's going to be, but I always go back to, like, where does this fit? And it always kind of feels like right now there's not just a random team that just doesn't go to anything anymore. I mean, except for the Gungans, right? But they ended up being raid-wise, but where does this fit next?
They're still great on defense.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I like the team, right? It just, it's kind of, is this going to be tied to anything else to make it into something different, you know?
So, there has been a lot of talk about a Zillow Beast raid, potentially, as that appears in the Bad Batch, and, like, it's a big, scary monster. That totally fits as something, and I've said that before on the show, that, like, I could see a Zillow Beast raid happening. And with the big focus that they've had on mercenaries lately, it kind of makes me think, okay, so what if, like, all these kind of mercenaries that they're releasing right now, whether they're Bad Batch or Balin Skull or whatever, what if that's kind of the target team in the way that Queen Amidala was, or, Galactic Republic was, or even Gungans or something like that? That would kind of not shock me if it was Bad Batch and or mercenaries. The other thing to keep in mind is the release of Jocasta Nu puts Jedi Vanguard as this, like, new kind of in a very similar way that the Battle for Naboo raid made you think, like, oh, I can use Kit Fisto? Oh, I can use Luminara in an important way? Now this Jedi Vanguard, we're going to be like, I guess I need to relic up my Jedi Knight Guardian. Or, someone else of that nature. So I could see Jedi Vanguard being involved in this too. Which, this is the tinfoil hat moment, I guess, as close as I get to that. Jedi Vanguards are, as they've been explained to us, supposed to be sort of like guardians of the Jedi Temple. Yeah. Was there a climactic thing that happened at the Jedi Temple once in history of Star Wars?
I mean, one thing comes to mind. I mean,
there was a pretty big thing there.
Yeah, right.
So I could see an Order 66 raid happening here. And it could be... I don't know. I'm thinking back on when raids used to have more kind of defined phases. Like, now they kind of have waves, right? There's been waves of Speeder Bike Pursuit or Battle for Naboo. But if there were phases, you could have, like, a Jedi Temple phase where you have to use Jedi Vanguards. And, I don't know, a Bad Batch phase where clones attack and you're the Bad Batch and you have to save them. Maybe the second Bad Batch mercenary phase where you fight off a Zillow Beast. I forget exactly how close that is. The Zillow Beast thing's significantly after Order 66, I guess. But the point is, the idea of an Order 66 raid is starting to make a little bit of sense to me as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, it feels like it should be soon, right? I mean, we should have something.
I would expect when did we do the last to know something by end of March. Yeah. Because that's kind of, and they don't always deliver on this, but that's when the road ahead kind of, in theory, would be. Yeah. So, if they were going to announce something, I think we still may have a little while before the announcement. But I don't know. What do you think? Like, Order 66 make any sense, or are you still thinking Zillo Beast is more likely?
How close are we to the anniversary for Revenge of the Sith? I mean, it feels like that's relatively pretty soon, right?
That was 2005, right?
Yeah, so I mean, we're basically getting to that time period. So that's where I just wonder too.
20-year anniversary.
Google here of the Sith. When was that done? Yeah, 2000 came into there in 2005. So I mean, to me, it would make a lot of sense. Obviously, if they do the Vanguard, I mean, it would line up to kind of like the other pieces to it. So I mean, so I would say that's a pretty good idea.
Jedi Vanguard, and I mean, there's still some like Eth Koth, Kit Fisto again in another raid. I mean, I got to. If there were phases, definitely one with like Mace and Kit, and bring in Sacy Tin. There's a few Jedi left that they could bring in for this raid too. That I would call.
My only thing though is like if they do Revenge of the Sith at any point, they need to get Lord Vader better. I mean, whatever it is, like they have to have some type of lifter for Lord Vader. I mean, it just feels like, and I know they tried with Maul,
well,
but
I'm sure if you fight against Lord Vader, he'll be awesome.
I know, right? He'll be amazing there. So you have to see it.
That's a good point. If you were to do an Order 66 raid and have a Galactic Legend be in it, it would be Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. Which he's not new. And there's no incentive for them to push us toward Obi-Wan because everyone's got him. Like, all endgame players. I mean to say, unless they gave you the opposite, where you play as Lord Vader, because that would push people to get Lord Vader, because that's the most ignored Galactic Legend, as you can attest to, you know.
Now, I will say, I have the perfect character, though, for the lifter. Do another Lord Vader, but he only has the one arm, and he's had his other arm and his two legs cut off. That has to be the perfect one.
Marshmallow Vader.
There you go, right?
Burnt Marshmallow Vader.
Just yells, I hate you all the time, but his attacks are just words.
His turn takes forever because he has to crawl to you.
I know, right?
Yeah, interesting. All right, so that's Wrecker. Let's hop right over to Conquest. Let's talk Conquest a minute here. How's it going so far? How are you finding this one?
So I am at, I think, actually no, I'm higher than this now because I just got two other ones. So I'm about 275, and so I think this type of feeds feel pretty good. I think it doesn't feel like it's a too much of a tough overall piece to go. I mean, I do think right now I've actually lost a few matches, and I think it's just kind of maybe it could be who I'm trying to use, but Mandalorians versus the Starkiller that was horrible. Actually,
Starkiller has stopped me in my tracks a couple times in this Conquest as well.
I mean, it basically, I had it at 6 minutes and I didn't do a turn yet, and I was full health, full protection, but the whole team was stunned, and it was a full 6 minutes, and I had to exit out of it because it was like, okay, this is horrible. So then, because you needed to beat it with a light side team, and I'm like, well, let me try to use a Mandalorian team because that's one of the global feats. So, but I mean, honestly, I don't really think. I think if I don't get red crate, it's because I'm an idiot. Because I mean, that's the only thing I can think. Is just maybe that I don't have my time well enough. But looking at the feats, I really don't see too many. I mean, there's one that you have to have Balin's Skull. Come on, CG, bring him back. I know it's only been a month, but don't have a feat if you know the free-to-play players just can't get them right now in most cases. But, that is what it is. But, I mean, honestly, the data discs, I'm going completely towards stacking offense with, making it kind of like similar what I did with the last one. And I just, as long as I can survive a little bit, they die just in a moment for every debuff. And so it really feels like this one might be, not in Sector 5 yet, but I feel like relatively this one's going to be pretty easy. How you feeling on it?
I got similar feelings so far. I think you and I have taken different routes where you're further along. Where did you say you are?
I'm in Sector 4.
Sector 4. I'm in Sector 3, like toward the beginning of Sector 3. But I was methodical. I've cleared out Sector 1. Sector 2, I've made good progress on all those. And then the globals I'm looking at right now looks pretty good. I need to pick up the pace on the Mandalorians a little bit, I guess. But overall, I'm at 232, and I feel like the big difference for me so far is that, and I said this last week, that it looked like it would be like this, and it feels true. Yeah. That two things. One, you don't have to use Great Mother in this sector, and then Morgan in the next one, and then another Night Sister in the next. And, like, come on. Stamina is a thing, and that's stupid. So there's, like, none of that, or close to none of that, which feels good. And the other thing is, I find I'm just using the teams to clear out the feats, and there have been precious few battles that I've had to break out Jedi Master Kenobi or Supreme Leader Kylo or something. Whereas in the past, I would try to go through every sector, all the way through Sector 5, and 3-star everything before I really worry about feats, for the most part. I mean, if there's an easy one, I'm going to grab it while I'm going through it. But I have not had to do that much at all. And it's kind of nice, because if I can't 3-star something, I know I've got Kenobi at 100%.
Right.
And it's, it just, I don't know. Overall, the big takeaway is it feels more enjoyable. I'm enjoying it.
Agreed, 100%.
Cool. All right, let's give a little, we're going a little long, but you know what? Who cares? This is episode 420, baby.
I know,
let's
right?
Get crazy.
It's a celebration.
I told you it was gonna come up again, and it still is, because we are not skipping Grand Arena Breakdown. Let's take a look at our week in GAC, and hey, if you want a front row seat to the action next time, catch me live on twitch.tv/theothersean, and it's like, it's not going to happen next week, obviously, because it's the week off, but when 3v3 starts back up, I'll be on there, usually Wednesdays at 7, and then on and off on the weekends. It says on my schedule that I do every Saturday morning and Sunday nights, but that's pretty dicey. So anyways, how was this round for you?
Not great, to be honest. It was a I mean, just being honest,
not great.
Not great. I mean, so I ended up winning the first round, and that was against Bound,
but it's like Beau, Bo.
Oh, they see.
Yeah, so
you sound out syllables better than I do, I guess, on that one. So, but this one, it was kind of interesting. Really, honestly, for attacks, it wasn't pretty. I ended up winning. It was 1705 is what I scored, so it was bad. But the one thing that was nice was they already they started off when I got in there. They were 557, and they were stuck. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna see what I can do. I will say, having a Jabba and a Balin is going to be a beast on defense. You know, if you go through and because I'm having a hard time, especially the way that they did their defenses, I needed SLKR 3 times, and I can only use them once.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
So it was really good defense on there. Now the best part for me is every single Grand Arena this time around, my Night Sisters and my Reva, my Inquisitors, got a hold. So that was really cool.
And Great Mothers, Night Sisters?
Great Mothers, yep. Great Mothers.
Cool.
And so in this time, Great Mothers, they actually held against Jedi Master Luke, which was really nice, and they just stopped afterwards, so even better. And Reva was able to hold against Traya. Now, the nice part is actually my Ray held against C Bane, which is pretty fun in my book, because that doesn't happen too often. Now, for me, I couldn't beat Jabba. It basically had to three-peat him, but my Afra definitely couldn't do it. My Kenobi lost against, Queen Amidala. That was painful. And then their Starkiller beat my Jedi Master Luke. So I didn't think that was going to work, but, I mean, it was
a dicey one. Yeah.
It was a tough one. So, I mean, basically they just had a really good defense. Luckily, they just couldn't get through mine. Now, hey, I'll take the win. Like I said, it was 1705 to 557, so we move forward.
Yeah.
So I go into the next round, and I'm thinking, okay, great, here we go, right? Like, I'm going to do this, and I turn it on, and they're at 983. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is going to be great,
it's what you
right?
love to see.
What really won was my aggression towards this game, because that's what won. So I scored 11 points, and I went through, and they had Ahsoka, right? So they had a beefed up Ahsoka. I've beaten her a few times. I mean, relatively pretty easy with Leia. Leia lost against Ahsoka, and I totally was a child that said, I quit, I'm done. And even though I could have probably still beat this person, I flat threw a tantrum and didn't play the rest of it. So,
whatever. Sometimes you just forget it. Like, go live your life,
And it was funny because I'm sitting there on lunch, and I was at work. I go in the back, and I'm by myself. I lose once, and I still have 45 minutes left of my lunch, and I still didn't play it the whole time. And so it was a full-on tantrum. I was surprised I wasn't on the ground kicking and screaming. But on the positives of that, they did get blocked. So, again, Reva held against both C and Leia, which felt really good. Great Mothers held against Qui-Gon and Grievous. And then Padme, good old Queen there, held against Jedi Master Luke and Wampa. So, hey, I mean, they tried. So
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely could have won, but I didn't. So
I get it.
Now, and that was against Hiri 100. Now, my last round, it was tough. It was a very tough one. So this is another loss to Hamjay, whatever words. So this time around, I open it up, and it's an 1819, and they basically put all of the...
That's a respectable score right there.
And to be honest, they put most of their Galactic Legends on defense. And so I'm like, good job. Like, good job, and I picked at it. Basically, it was a day that, I mean, I didn't put all the notes on here because there were so many times I lost, and so many times it just basically, like, I just had fun. I didn't care. I ended up scoring 10,010 points. I knew I was going to lose. I did some really dumb stuff, so I hope the person looks at the chat, at the GG, just to say, like, why did he do that? Well, guess what? I could. You beat me. I tipped my cap to you, and I just basically had some fun on there. Now, again, on defense, I had one hold, actually two holds, sorry, on that one. So that means they had to solo stuff too. So, and again, it was Night Sisters, and also too with Reva there. So yeah, that I'm still in Kyber 3, hanging on by a toenail, but I am still there. So that's why I had to invest that Omicron into 3v3, because I need to stay in Kyber 3, man.
You need some help, yeah. And I mean, with 3v3 coming up,
need even more. Because I mean, I could tantrum at any point; it could happen. So speaking of tantrum, hopefully you didn't have that. But how about for you? How did it go?
I don't think I had any full-blown tantrums. I will say almost every Grand Arena week, I have at least one point where I say out loud, this game's stupid.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's dumb. This game's stupid. But that's just the nature of, like, I do that with every game I play. So, yeah, this week, for me, not bad. I started with a match against Leandra. I streamed that one. That was a tricky defense. And I talked a little bit of trash because I kind of always do. But, like, again, you go in and you see certain teams and you're like, all right, I know these targets. I know how to take out Jabba, Lord Vader, Amidala, etc. But eventually, like, sometimes you just kind of run out of those weapons. Mm-hmm. And that's what I found happening as I got kind of deeper into these defenses, that, like, I had used up Supreme Leader Kylo, and I had used up Traya, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I do against this, right? So, like, for instance, I had to beat Darth Traya, and I look up, how do you do that? And it looks like Gas is pretty good at it. All right, cool. They're less good at it when Nihilus gets to pull off his little annihilate maneuver.
Yeah,
and,
right at the beginning.
Things go completely off the rails, and that's what happened. I was able to take out Savage, and I decided to keep it instead of forfeit. Because if Savage is gone, that team loses a lot. So I went in and cleaned up with CLS. Easy peasy. I say easy peasy, but almost lost 3PO and Chewie. So, not bad, not bad. Then I get to Gungans. And I did not have Traya available because I had to use Traya to take out Reva. And I'm kind of, once again, like, oh god, what do I do? I tried Jedi Master Luke.
Mm-hmm.
That, my friend, was folly.
Oh, no.
So now I'm really in a pickle. What do I do? And that's why I was saying, like, they're a team that you're getting the most use out of them if you use them in the raid, but they're still a pain in the butt. And if you don't have the right team, you aren't beating them. Period. So eventually I tried Darth Malgus against it, and that was triumphant. Ships were a breeze. They set, relatively easy stuff back there. I won 1777 to 1758 as my Iden Versio stopped their Gungans. They used Gungans on attack against Iden Versio, and that did not go well for them. And then my what was it? Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm reading this backwards. Oh my god, Gungans on attack. Like, what the heck?
I mean,
it was my Gungans that they tried to take out with their Iden Versio. Jeez, oh Pete, I'm a goon. And then my Finn team got a hold with Zori with her Omicron, which is relatively new to me. I have her Omicron and Rose's though, and they tried to take that out with a Maul team that just wasn't it. And then they dropped one in ships as well. Chimera could not take out my finalizer, and I was so happy about that. Round 2, I go up against, this is episode 420, right? So I can say this.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Darth Stoner.
Perfect timing.
Whatever. I streamed this one too, and this one was a little more efficient for both of us. We're both in the 1800s. So I go through and I'm having a pretty good time. I do a couple undersized things. I'm feeling good about it. And then they had a Saw Gerrera team. Once again, I tried Gas, and I got gassed. So that kind of stunk. And once again, I cleaned it up with CLS. So live and learn, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the only battle I dropped. As far as battles Darth Stoner dropped, there weren't any. It was very efficient. So I lost 1809 to 1835. Round 3, I go up against Rick the Door Technician. Now, Rick, let me tell you about Rick. Rick the Door Technician from Retribution Reborn reaches out and he's like, hey, are you the other Sean from Galactic War Report? I'm like, yeah, that's me. Cool. And he's, we're having a little chat. He's like, thanks for making the show. I love listening, whatever. Cool. I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. Well, good game. Let's see what happens. So I log in, and I'm not kidding. It was like 4 o'clock. And I'm like, I better do some battles. You know, I better do some battles. And they put up 1801. So, an okay score, right?
Yeah.
I take out Ahsoka with Leia. I take out Lord Vader with Bo, of course. Boss Nass, Jabba. It's the usual suspects, right?
Mm-hmm.
I start getting toward the back, and I get a little nervous about what's going to be in that back sector. And the back sector is Qui-Gon Jinn, and I've still got Luke available. Sweet. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mon Mothma. All right, sure. Took that out with Malgus and an Iden Versio, and I still had Seer with a Malicos Kron, and I tore it up, and I ended up winning 1827 to 1801. As far as defense, he just tripped up on my Rey. He tried to take out Rey with Seer, as he set Starkiller on defense instead of trying to save that for Rey. And that was his only trip up, 1827 to 1801. And then I messaged him. And I finished with a minute 30 left
Oh, nice.
the end of GAC, because I'm, stupid. And then I messaged him, and I was trying to be nice, but I'm also like sarcastic and just unintentionally abrasive most of the time. And so I said something to the effect of, like, I beat you with a minute 30 left. Like, as if to say, wow, that was close. But I just said it like, I beat you. It was like, well, that's deflating,
Oh, man.
He said he shouldn't have, maybe he shouldn't have told his whole guild to listen to this episode. I didn't mean to be so rude, but I just, whatever. I get carried away. So, good sport. Thanks for reaching out. I always love it when someone reaches out and says something like that. Like, that's why we do the show. It's community. Like, I love to know that people enjoy it, because we do. So, that's it. We gotta go. Good night, everybody. Wait. Record scratch. Who you grinded?
Oh, yes. I actually made a move. I did a relic for the first time in probably feels like 3 weeks, which is kind of exciting. So, Hera, she was 1 out of 100. Now she is up to relic 3. So we are getting pretty close to this. I mean, actually at this point, all of them are farmable, and they're getting pretty dang close. Now, Padawan Sabine, we went from 59 out of 85 up to 9 out of 100. So 91 more to go. And then Hu Yang was 32 out of 85 up to 69 out of 85. So that feels pretty good to get there. Now, again, only 2 more relic levels. I still have Fulcrum. I need to get her up to relic 9, so that's not going to be easy. And I think that Rex is relic 7, Plo is relic 8. So I still have a decent amount of relics left, but now that Hera's done, hopefully I can get some signal data to move forward.
Yeah.
Now, the only other thing that really happened is Punishing One. I averaged 20 to 21 every single week, so we still have about, 20 more weeks, and then I'll finally get to where we need to go. But we are 22 out of 100 up to 43 out of 100. Man, though, I did switch to actually having, this on for my fleet arena. Weirdly enough, I don't have a lot of Leviathans out there, and so I actually have moved up a decent chunk in there. So I'm really grateful there's a ton of people on that fleet that just don't care about fleets. So thank you,
wish mine
Shard.
was like that. I still got a bunch of cutthroats. Where do you usually place for Fleet Arena? And don't be embarrassed, because I'm terrible at it too. Okay.
Oh, thanks. I'm 20, so I mean that's not terrible. I mean, with not having a Leviathan and not a 7-star, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, on a good day, I'm around 20. Sometimes I am like 60. Is about as low as I go, but it just people are monsters on my Shard.
Yeah.
They're
not mine. I love it. We're all really lazy. That's what I'm assuming, because I mean, none of us really have Leviathan. I think the top 10 do, and then from there it just kind of is. But yeah, and then the only other thing, like I got 105 Zetas sitting there. I'm ready to go on those here pretty soon, but I had the Zaalbar. Zaalbar Omicron is finally done. I still have 50 left. So originally I was looking at, Darkside Ray there, probably give her all 3. Now we're going to do 2. And so when she finally gets unlocked. So, I mean, and I think Balin's still probably about a month away. So I got some time to hopefully get some of his. And he's going to go on defense, so at some point as he gets it, he's going to be tougher for somebody to beat with a slicker. So,
right.
So yeah, so a whopping 3 relics. So, I mean, again, I have to live vicariously through you when it comes to upgrades recently. So, I gotta know, right? I gotta know who you grinded.
Well, same old stuff for the most part. I've made a couple little milestones here. So, my Padawan Sabine went from 17 up to 42 out of 85. So that hurts. Wait a second. You went to 9 out of 100?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I gotta catch up. My Hu Yang went from 41 up to 55 out of 85. My drop rates just stink for him.
Yeah.
Period. My Marak went from 71 out of 100 up to 92 out of 100, and then I said, forget this, I'm buying 10 shards. I'm tired of this grind. So I bought 10 shards with crystals.
There you go.
And got him to Relic 2, where he sits now. And more signal data will be coming in about 54 minutes. So then I'll get him a little higher. Outside of those 2 projects, Punishing One went from 28 up to 51 out of 100. And then Bo-Katan, like the OG Bo-Katan, went from Relic 5 up to... no, I think she was Relic... no, she must have been 5. She was Relic 5. Up to Relic 7 as a new thing that I'm hoping to be able to work on. Because you always have the new stuff that you have to grind, right? Mm-hmm. You're always going to have your Balin Skulls, your new Galactic Legend, your Jocasta, or whatever else they're throwing at us, the Bad Batch. But I'm hoping, and I think I can fit this in, hoping to be able to take some of my Relic 5 characters up to Relic 7 and beyond. Specifically, ones that I want to use in territory battles. And this kind of came from my guildmate Silver. I'm sorry. I work for a company that has a thing called Sliver, so that word always comes out. But Silver is the guy. He posted a bunch of teams that he uses for territory battles and how he has them all saved by the planet, like Tatooine middle, Tatooine left, Tatooine Jabba, whatever. And so I've looked through those and kind of like identified a few projects that are worth taking to Relic 7 so that I can use them on a few planets. Yeah. Bo-Katan is the first that I moved on because now I have a full Mandalorian team that I can use in territory battles up to Relic 7. Cool. And I eventually would love to be able to do the Bo-Katan mission at Relic 9, but, baby steps.
Yeah.
Other characters that I want to do that with are, I want to get Darkside Ray. She's at Relic 5. I want to take her up to 7 for that, and because she's awesome. I want to do that. Similarly, Ezra Exile is Relic 5 for me. I want to take him to 7. I don't see any reason not to. I think he's just great. The other ones specifically for territory battles are Dark Trooper Moff Gideon would get me an excellent Imperial Remnant team all at Relic 7, and I love that. Afra, because she's required on a ton of missions, take her up to Relic 7, and Kyle Katarn, because I am thinking about doing his Omicron for territory battles. And if I do, I want to be able to use him more than just the first day, because he's Relic 5 right now. Give me 3 days.
Yeah, give me
3
a couple
days,
more.
and that's a payoff. And if it's going well, I might take him to Relic 8. Who knows?
Oh, wow.
I doubt it. anyways, that's, I think, it for what I've worked on. I was looking over, like, did I do any other fun projects? I don't think I did. I think I just really focused on getting those relics up and getting Marok done with the shard grind, especially as these Bad Batch characters keep dropping. Like, eventually they're going to be farmable, and I'm going to need to spend some energy on them. I got to get done with these other goofy projects as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah.
As far as Omicrons, as I mentioned, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking about that Zaalbar one. There's a very non-zero chance that I do that. But I've got one in the bank, and I traditionally don't do well with having one in the bank. Like, I'm gonna spend it. All those red ones all over the place. It's not good for me. It's not good for me. I gotta get rid of them. So, we'll see. I don't know. Head over to the Discord. It's linked in the show notes, and let us know, you know, what's the spicy new Omicron, like, besides Zaalbar. I don't have a better idea. I have all the traditional ones that I'm looking to make something a little goofy. Maybe a territory battle. Maybe it's something. I don't want to get carried away and say territory war, but
yeah, right.
Maybe. All right, that's all we got for you this week. It may not be the best advice, but at least you don't have to listen to me do the record scratch again. I promise. If you want to continue the conversation, join that Discord server. It's linked in the show description. You can become a real live Jawa by supporting us on Patreon and share your thoughts by leaving us a podcast review wherever you listen. Big thanks also go out to Pabu Appa and SWGOH.gg and SWGOHevents.com for providing all the hard data we misinterpret. Thanks for tuning in, and may the force